What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the College Football Show. I'm your host, Will and D, and I'm here with my pal Jeffrey from Only Talk Sports. And man, we're excited college football's back.
Oh, I'm absolutely pumped for college football. I mean, it's hasn't been feels like too long of an off season because all the crazy news that's been going on. You got like the Michigan allegations, you got all the portal news, all this kind of stuff going on, spring ball. So plus you got all these other sports if you're into college basketball, NFL, and NBA. But by the last month, yeah, I've been really, really looking forward to college football. I mean, I need it back. You know, we all need it back. We love football. And it's going to be a lot of fun to see how it all shakes out. We got the 12-team playoff. We got the realignment with these new teams and the new conferences. So it's going to be a lot of fun and can't wait to get into it.
Now, one fan base that's not having too much fun right now is Florida State, as they went across the world to Ireland and lost to Georgia Tech.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, I was so close to picking Georgia Tech in this game. I had a lot of people tell me it's going to be a blowout. Florida State's going to blow them out. And I'm like, no, they're not. Florida State is not going to blow Georgia Tech out. I mean, for one, it's week 0, which week 1 basically for them, but it's week 0. You're never usually as good as you end up being in the first game of the year. It takes time to really get the team together. Florida State's losing a lot of players. Georgia Tech, they had almost their entire team back. They returned like everybody, which is insane. You don't see that in the modern era of college football now with the portal. You don't see teams retaining all their players. Basically, Georgia Tech did, and they added a couple quality additions. I'm like, this is going to be a one-score game either way. I ended up picking Florida State, but I wish I'd have picked Georgia Tech because they played great, and maybe at the end of the day, they might have not should have won, but Florida State gave the game away, and Georgia Tech pulled it out with a field goal. So it was a great game to start off college football. But like you said, not a good result for Florida State. Their season's not completely wrecked because, again, you got the 12-team playoff. You can turn it around, still win the ACC and everything, but that's a bad way to start the year.
One thing that surprised me about this game, Jeffrey, is that Georgia Tech dominated both lines of scrimmage.
Mm-hmm.
Like is Florida State turned soft? Like, are they the new Ohio State? Like, what's going on?
I don't know. That's a great. It was just the experience of Georgia Tech. I really think that it was. I mean, because like they were already a solid team last year. They made a bowl game. They won the bowl game. I mean, they're trending in the right direction, it seems, under Brent Key. And then it's like everyone comes back and they have a whole offseason to get better. And whereas Florida State losing just so many key players, I mean, especially like the defensive side of the ball, they lost a lot of quality players that they added through the portal, from those last 2 recruiting classes that have moved on. And I mean, that kind of explains probably why their D-line was bad. But with the O-line, I mean, I don't know. It just overall, like, I mean, they did get manhandled by Georgia Tech for the most part. Like, Georgia Tech ran the ball well. I mean, they threw the football pretty well. I mean, it wasn't a perfect performance on offense for Georgia Tech, but especially on defense, I mean, they did good. DJ Uiagalelei, everybody's giving him flack, saying that
I'm not blaming
bad,
DJ that much, man, because
I agree with you. I don't think he blew the game.
They didn't have him. Most of his throws were just screen passes. Like, until the end of the game, he really didn't throw it far.
Yeah, I agree with that. Like, everybody was going out there and, after the game, like I remember, calling in the voice of college football and just like everybody was just dogging out DJ, like, oh, it's DJ's fault. He ruined the game. And I'm just like, no, I don't really agree with that. I think that, he could have done better. But, I mean, it's not like he was the sole reason or like the main reason that they didn't win the game. I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, Florida State didn't do good enough on either side of the ball, but their defense allowed Georgia Tech to score the game-winning field goal. So that's definitely, to me, more of the bigger issue.
One thing I'll give Florida State is that their offensive coordinator, Alex Atkins, wasn't there. I don't totally remember why he couldn't be there. Maybe, I know Jason's a diehard Noles fan in the chat. Thanks for being here, Jason. Maybe he would know. But that maybe changes things up a bit, but still, like, I just don't understand why they didn't pass it downfield much.
Yeah, that is a good point. I did see that. I never mentioned that when talking about the game, but you are right about that. with the offensive coordinator. I remember reading about that. I mean, I don't know how much of an impact it had. It probably did. I mean, I think going across, the world, like you said, when we started previewing this game or recapping this game, like that's a big deal too. I mean, you don't know how that's going to affect players. Like most of these guys have never been to the other side, of the Atlantic Ocean. Like it's a big deal. It's a big time difference. People talk about West Coast teams going to play on the East Coast and how tough that is. So, I mean, it's a completely different ballgame going across to Ireland. Jason says Atkins got suspended for NIL violations. He drove recruits to an off-campus NIL meeting, and apparently that is against the rules. Okay, see, I did not pay attention to that story good enough. I just saw that he wasn't there, but I didn't know that. Thanks, Jason, for that. And we also got Sports Talk with Austin as well. Appreciate you for stopping by. Go Cards, guys. We'll be talking about Louisville, I'm sure, later on down the show, but appreciate you being here. But yeah, that's interesting with that. I remember Florida State had some NIL issues or whatever, because remember, that was a big reason why a lot of people thought that Alabama didn't get Mike Norvell because of that stuff. I don't know if that's true, but then they went with Kalen DeBoer. I don't know if Norvell, they were higher on him, but I remember the NIL stuff came out around then, and then they kind of faded from him.
All right. Well, okay. Week 1 is going to be starting up on Thursday. And we got some Thursday games. We're going to skip over the cupcakes. But remember, folks, always eat your cupcakes.
Yeah, you definitely got to make sure you take care of business and never lose the food. You never lose the food, like Josh Pate always says. You can't lose the food, but definitely, I mean, all those games, you would think most of those are going to be easy wins for the team that's favored. I don't really see any of those being all that close. There we go. There's our first big game. After all the cupcakes that most of those teams should take care of business, we got North Carolina traveling to Minnesota. This isn't no neutral site game. This is a bona fide road test for the Tar Heels. And North Carolina is favored to win by 2. And I think that's going to make a big difference when talking about this game, because Minnesota, I think, is going to play even harder because of the fact that they're an underdog to start out on their own field. We remember when Minnesota was a heavy underdog to Ohio State a few years ago on Thursday night, and they gave Ohio State a game, and Ohio State's much better than North Carolina. Now, granted, Minnesota was a better team then than they are right now, but still, North Carolina is not as good as they were a couple years ago either, because they don't have Drake May anymore. Their defense is terrible, and with a worse offense this year, probably, if their defense doesn't get any better, North Carolina's going to have some problems, because that was a big reason they even won any games last year, was because of their offense. Minnesota, they don't have a lot of the pieces that they've had in the past few years. They got a new quarterback, a guy from New Hampshire that I remember we talked about when we were doing the portal. So we'll see how he does. But, I mean, to me, this game's going to be close. I mean, I know that a lot of people get mad when I'm always like, this game's going to be close. Well, the literal spread has it being 2 points for UNC. It's going to be a close game most likely. But, I mean, obviously I try to keep bias out of it. I hope North Carolina wins, but I'm not confident in it. But what are your thoughts on this game before I make my pick for it?
Will Carolina's defense be any better this season? And Minnesota's offense was also bad. So it's weakness versus weakness. Like Athan Kaliak-Manis was brutal.
Yeah, he was not good.
So it can only go up from here, but how much week 1 or how much better are they going to be week 1? Because I remember last year, Carolina, while they're playing their counterparts from the South, and even they were able to do well against South Carolina's poorest offense last season. So can the Tar Heels do it again in the season opener and grab a big win? Because I feel like Carolina always starts off strong and then fades. So hopefully they can at least start off strong and maybe try to keep it up this season.
That's a great point. I will say that North Carolina does normally start the season off pretty well, like you said. That is a great point. And then they choke against bad teams. That Virginia game last year. Like, everybody was mad about the Georgia Tech game. I'm like, yeah, I'm upset about it, but The Virginia game's what I'm frustrated with. That's the game that's grinding my gears because, yes, Virginia was terrible. And, like, yeah, it was good and all for Virginia. I mean, the story and all that happened with it. But, like, North Carolina should not have lost to Virginia. It's just ridiculous that they let them run the football that easily on them. It does come down to the defense. The defense has to be better because I know for a fact that North Carolina's offense is going to be worse. It's going to be worse. There's no way that their defense can be as bad as it was last year and North Carolina can win 7-8 games because the offense is going to be worse. There's no way they're going to put up the stats they did like they did with Drake May. So this is a big game to see where North Carolina's at, with their defense, see if it's better. It's got to be better. Like teams that their defense has to be better this year, and we're going to get to those teams, LSU and USC, both those teams, their defense has to be better because the offense is probably going to be worse. And the same thing with North Carolina. But with Minnesota, can they run the football? I mean, they don't have Mo Ibrahim anymore. Can they run the football? They probably will because they always usually have good old linemen. But it's just about whether Minnesota, can PJ Fleck get him back in the right direction because he usually has a good year than a bad year. They had a rough year last year, kind of. I know they made a bowl game, but they shouldn't have because of the whole APR thing. They were 5-7. Shouldn't have made a bowl game. But, can he get them back going again? He normally does. But I'm like you, though. I don't know what your pick's going to be, but like you said, North Carolina starts the season out well. I think that they're going to do it again like they did last year against South Carolina. North Carolina's going to knock off Minnesota 24-23. I think it's going to be really close, and I almost would say higher scoring, but Minnesota doesn't normally play higher scoring games, so I think it's going to be 24-23 North Carolina.
That's a good scoreline, Jeffrey. I was thinking something like that, too. I'll be different. I'll go 28-21 Heels.
There we go. So we got Heels from Will. We also got Jason saying go Heels. He's saying it's going to be a really good game. Looking forward to it. I think it's going to be very close as well.
Do you know much about the new Carolina quarterback?
Well, Max Johnson, he was at LSU.
Oh, yeah.
Him. And he was at Texas A&M. And he had his moments. When he was healthy, that season at LSU, when he was the starting quarterback, he had like 30 touchdowns and 5 picks. Like, he's not bad. Everybody's like, oh, he's terrible. He's a serviceable quarterback at best. I think he's fine. And for him, though, it's about staying healthy, and he's not super mobile. Like, Drake May had way more mobility than Max Johnson. Can North Carolina's offensive line keep him upright? That's what I'm concerned with. If they can't do that and he gets hurt like in week 4, week 5 of the season, then their season's going to be wrecked because they don't really have quality depth behind him. I think they got one guy that's really young that maybe could be decent in the future, but you don't want to go with that guy. So Max Johnson has to stay healthy. That shouldn't be a concern in week 1, but you never know. Guys have gone down in week 1 before, but I think Max Johnson, when healthy and when given time to throw, he can be a good quarterback, but it's all about the protection for North Carolina.
And for our next game, we got Neon Dion, the Colorado Buffaloes, taking on North Dakota State and Folsom. Colorado's a 10-point favorite. Will they choke?
Yeah, this is Austin's team. Prime time. Colorado. I mean, his team's Louisville, but his like secondary team. He's always beefing Colorado up. But yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, I'm not really massive into picking upsets. I don't like picking upsets. But the thing is that Colorado's favored by 10 and they're at home. And North Dakota State isn't as good as they were a few years ago, but they're still good, right? Like, they're still one of the best FCS teams, one of the best programs. Colorado did start the year off good last year, though. Kind of like North Carolina, where they start out well, then they choke. Because Colorado, remember, they were 3-0, and then they fell apart. So what are you thinking here?
Well, look at the teams Colorado beat. They beat TCU, who finished 5-7.
Nebraska,
with
who Jeff Sims,
5-7, and Colorado State.
Yeah, I mean, those wins were not impressive.
They barely beat.
Yeah, the only reason they thought it was impressive when they beat TCU at the time was because TCU was ranked at the beginning of the year, which is why preseason polls don't mean anything, right? Because you can be ranked in the preseason and end up being a horrible team. Indiana was ranked at the beginning of the year with Penix in 2021, and then they went 2-10. So, I mean, because he got hurt and the season went bad. So, like, Colorado's wins were not that impressive last year. I don't know. I mean, the thing is that Colorado beat those teams, and probably TCU, Nebraska, and Colorado State. They're probably, well, especially TCU and Nebraska, they're better than North Dakota State. They're better teams than North Dakota State. And that was year one. I mean, you would think Colorado would be better in year two, but I don't trust Dion. I really don't.
I don't know. I don't trust their lines of scrimmage either. If North Dakota State can win the line of scrimmage, which wouldn't be a shock to me, oh, baby, we could get a massive upset.
All I know is if Colorado loses, the pitchforks are going to come, man. I mean, like, they're just waiting for Dion hype. They want to do it. You know that the commercial breaks, like, they want Colorado versus Stanford. Not, they're not playing Stanford this year, but you know what I'm saying, though. Like, Colorado last year, when they were playing crappy teams like Stanford, they were hyping those games up. And I'm like, no one cares. Like, nobody cares about these games.
Well, people cared when Stanford won.
Yeah, they did. I did. Man, that game. I mean, it was such a good game at the end after they were down by that much. But, I mean, that's what I'm saying, though. Like, Colorado, they're going to be playing like, Baylor or whatever, and they're going to be just hyping the game up to death. I'm like, I don't know. But if they lose early to a team like this, then the hype train's gone already. Because when they went 3-0 to start the year, that's what got people on the hype train. I don't know, man. I'm just gonna pull the trigger. I'm gonna go with North Dakota State 28-27. I'm probably wrong. I'm probably gonna be wrong.
I can't do it because I don't think they'll be able to stop Travis Hunter.
Yeah, Colorado's probably gonna win, but I'm just gonna take North Dakota State to be different on this one.
I'll go 38-24 North Dakota State.
Wait, you're picking North Dakota State too?
I mean, Colorado. Okay,
I was about to say, like, what?
I slipped.
No, you're good. So you're going Colorado. I mean, deep down, I feel Colorado's going to win. I do. But I'm picking North Dakota State. That's like my big upset here. I mean, I'm not really going to be picking a lot of upsets, so I'll go with that. Hey, we got an interesting game here. Coastal Carolina and Jacksonville State. Jacksonville State favored by 2.5 because it's on their own turf. But, hey, 3-point favorite usually at home, so they're kind of giving Coastal Carolina a little bit of credit here. Obviously, no Grayson McCall, no Jamie Chadwell, but they still were not bad last year overall. And McCall got hurt, and when the backup quarterback came in, they still had success. He's still there. So they might still be okay, but Jacksonville State was impressive last year.
I don't know much about the players on these teams, but
me neither.
So I won't give a prediction, but it'll be fun. I'll tune in.
I'll go with Coastal.
My friend's house has CBS Sportsnet, so maybe. Maybe.
I got CBS Sports Network. So if the other games are blowouts or like one's on commercial break, I might flip it on. I'll go Coastal 28-24. Yeah, the rest of those should be easy wins for the favorites. Oklahoma over Temple.
Temple's brutal, man.
Yeah, they're not good. This isn't Temple of like 10 years ago.
This isn't Matt Rule. No more Matt Rule.
No, I mean, they were good back then. But Oklahoma's probably going to cover, I would think. They're going to win big.
This could be interesting. Florida Atlantic, Michigan State. Tom Herman's second year at Florida Atlantic.
That's true. I mean, this is a sneaky game because Michigan State is the very first game for Jonathan Smith at the Spartans. There's going to be growing pains. I don't know. I mean, go Temple, beat the Sooners, says Jason. I mean, I don't think I can do it. I mean, I could see it. I could see this one. I could see an upset, but I'll go Michigan State to win 28-17. I think they'll get it done.
I'll go 31-14. I think Aiden Childs will probably play well.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to have some growing pains, I mean, as well, because he hasn't really led an offense or anything. But, I mean, this isn't the easiest game in the world to start out with, but it's not brutal. I mean, it's a manageable game. It's gonna. I mean, I think it might be close, maybe even into the early fourth quarter, but then Michigan State's gonna pull away.
Here's a sneaky game: TCU and Stanford.
TCU Stanford. I like this game. This is one of those games I just like because it's random, right? And I know with all this realignment, we're going to be seeing a lot more random matchups like USC Rutgers that are now conference games. But a game like this, though, you got the Big 12 versus the ACC now, which is just dumb. I mean, the Atlantic Coast Conference has Stanford, a team on the Pacific Coast, just like Cal. It doesn't even make any sense. But I like this game. I mean, Stanford is not very good, but they did give us one of the best games of the year last year that we already mentioned with Colorado. And TCU is only favored by 9.5. I mean, that is a hefty margin, but it's not like 20. So Stanford has a chance. And with it being week 1, again, maybe TCU doesn't play good. Maybe they don't show up to play or they're not ready for this game. And they're traveling far. I mean, it's not an easy travel or anything. But the problem is Stanford just doesn't have a home crowd. Like, they got no fans. So, like the home environment's not going to be there. I'll probably go with TCU to pull it out 31-20. I mean, I think Stanford could win, but TCU will probably get it done.
Should
Are you going to do it like I did with North Dakota State? And Colorado, are you going to go with Stanford here?
I don't know. I'll pull it. I'll go Stanford 31-28 TCU.
Will's going for the tree. And yes. Notre Dame's rival, too. So
I don't hate Stanford because I don't have any. There's like one annoying kind of. I mean, there's a few Stanford accounts, but.
Yeah, that's the problem. There's only a few of them in existence.
I have never
There's
met
not that many Stanford accounts. I love going across Twitter and trying to like find people of different fan bases, right? Because I want to see like how they react. Like, how are they chill? Are they like going crazy? And like, it was hard to find Stanford people. There's just not that many. I mean, I'm sorry, Stanford fans and alumni. I mean, you're smart, you're geniuses, but the problem is like you don't have any football fans hardly. That's the thing. I mean, they need more football fans. They need to fill up that stadium more. But yeah, I mean, I think like you said, it's possible. I could see Stanford winning, but I don't know. I'll go with TCU.
All right, Clemson at Georgia.
Brutal. Just absolutely brutal to start the season for Clemson. I mean, the thing is, we know what happened the last time Clemson started a football season. They went at Duke, right, and they lost. So the thing is that this is a significantly harder game than that. Georgia is, I mean, again, despite their players having a lot of off-the-field issues, multiple arrests a year for dumb stuff, Georgia wins. And they got great players. They might do idiotic stuff off the field, but they're great players. And Kirby Smart, I mean, he's got a machine going down there. I mean, they are basically the new Alabama at this point, especially if they can win a couple more titles. The problem is for Clemson is that they don't recruit the portal. Like I've said it a million times in the last couple of years. When I bring up Clemson, they don't recruit the portal. That's all that I basically say. And I'm like, Dabo, you got to use the portal. You got to use the portal. You have to bring in guys, a few players a year. They're going to help elevate your team to stay at the level of these other elite programs in college football where you once were 5 years ago. You're not there now, and you're getting worse. You're trending down. And I know they're ranked 14th. I know they can win the ACC. But we were talking about this program in the same lens as Alabama just 5 years ago. They're not even nowhere near that right now. They're like Penn State, but probably worse. It's just that's not good. This is a brutal game to start the season with. Georgia's favored only by 13.5, but that's still a hefty margin. That game, when they played a couple years ago in week 1, Georgia was not favored by that much. So, again, it just shows you Clemson has fallen. I mean, Clemson's just going to have to find a way not to let the game get out of hand. They're going to have to find a way to just keep it close, like that game a couple years ago. Their defense is going to have to grind it out, do everything that they can to just keep the game close and see what happens. But what are your thoughts?
I'll defend Clemson here as just to be fun. So I watch the Clemson show when I can. I can't watch it every week, but they're excited about their new offensive line coach. Why can't I think of his name? The guy that coached at Ole Miss before Lane.
Oh, what is last name like Luke or something?
Matt Luke, thank you.
Matt Luke, yeah.
So they're thinking their offensive line should not get dominated because they got Matt Luke as their new coach, and the receivers should also be better. They have the young receivers that should be able to make some plays. Now, Clemson's going to need one more thing to go right if they can spring the upset. They're going to need a good game from Cade Klubnik.
A really good game, like literally like a Zach Calzada game against Alabama when he was at A&M, like that type of game. Perfect.
No, their defense should still be good. Their defense, they just need to give their offense needs to like sustain some sort of drives going so their defense doesn't get tired. So that's the formula to victory from Clemson. A strong game from Cade. Their receivers be able to get open, and their offensive line should be able to give him some time. But this is big for Garrett Riley. This is a big test for him to see if their offense could get something rolling against Georgia.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the thing is he had a lot of hype because of what he did at TCU, and obviously being the brother of Lincoln Riley and his track record, even though people are souring on him right now. But, I mean, last year was rough, especially at times. I mean, there were moments where it was okay, but okay is not good. And then there were moments where it was brutal. I mean, that it was week 1, but that Duke game was abysmal. I mean, it was just absolutely abysmal. The red zone offense, that was the biggest problem for Clemson last year. Whenever they got into the red zone, they fell apart at the seams. Like, they could get down the field a lot of the time, and then they get in the red zone, and they just couldn't score. So
the turnover, that Duke game was so fluky, man. All the turnovers.
Yeah. I mean, it was a wild game. I mean, it wasn't as crazy as that one game Miami had where they had like 7 turnovers or whatever. But I mean, dude, like it still was pretty wild. But we got Jason saying maybe Georgia will eat some of that terrible Carolina barbecue with their pregame meal and be too sick to play well. Well, I mean, that probably will be the only chance they got. I mean, they're going to need Georgia to just play poor. I mean, to have a bad game, which Georgia, they've had bad games before. I mean, that Missouri game a couple years ago when Missouri wasn't that good comes to mind, even against Kent State. I know they were close against Missouri last year, but Missouri was better last year, so that's more legitimate. We also got traveling fools here as well. Just stop laughing, Will. Appreciate you stopping by, traveling fools. But yeah, my thing is that Cade Klubnik got hyped up a lot, and sometimes
he was really high. He was ranked like the number 1 or 2 quarterback of his class.
Absolutely. I mean, he was hyped up a lot because of his ranking. And the thing is when you do not perform anywhere near to that ranking, I mean, people are going to.
I mean, that quarterback class looks silly. I mean, him or Drew Aller were ranked number 1. Well, ranked like 1 and 2 pretty much. And Connor Wegman was there too, close to them.
Yeah, that hasn't turned out too good.
Yeah.
I mean, Drew Aller is okay, but he hasn't really done anything.
He isn't any better than Cade. I mean, they're similar.
Penn State, doesn't throw the ball down the field. I mean, that's what everybody's like, is this the year? Like, is Penn State with the new offensive coordinator, are they going to throw the ball down the field? They would have had a chance against Ohio State last year if they had just taken chances. They kept throwing dink and dunk passes. That's not going to get you anywhere. But, yeah, I mean, Georgia, I mean, they lose tons of players every year, but they find a way to replace it. That's the thing that, Florida State, can't do right now. That's why they just lost to Georgia Tech. It's what a lot of programs can't do is be able to replace the amount of talent that Georgia just lost. We're going to see if Michigan can do it this year and losing a coach with Harbaugh. But I just think Clemson, K. Klubnik's got to have a good game. He's been hyped up a lot, but people are souring on him hard. I think he can still be good, but he's going to need protection, and they're going to have to take chances. I mean, they can't be dumb either and just sling it downfield every play. But still, you have to take your chances when they're available. If they just try to dink and dunk all game, they're not going to win. But at the end of the day, I mean, Georgia's going to have way more, the home field event, like the crowd. I mean, it's not the home field because Athens is their home field, but it's in Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta. It's going to be favoring Georgia significantly. Like there will be Clemson fans there, but it's going to favor Georgia. I just feel like even if Georgia plays really bad, they're still going to win. So, I mean, could I see Clemson winning? Yes, it would shock me. I mean, it wouldn't just blow my mind, but it would really shock me. But I do think at the end of the day, Georgia's going to win like 31-14. I think Clemson's going to even struggle to get a lot of points up in this game, unless their offense surprises me.
I'll go 27-10 Georgia.
Yeah, we're definitely with the same thought processing there. I mean, I hate it. I mean, I'm not saying I'm like the biggest Dabo supporter ever or anything, but I respect the guy.
If they can get another quarterback that can become like as good as Deshaun and Trevor, maybe they can be back, but it'll be tough.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy, man. I mean, like I said, I respect Dabo a lot, and I want him to do well. But I don't know. I really, really don't. It's just I just don't see them having any shot to win this game, really. Basically like a 2% chance. I mean, Georgia's just that much better right now than Clemson.
Penn State, West Virginia in Morgantown. Big noon.
Yeah, this game right here, I mean, I'm gonna say it's not like one of the top like 3 games of the week. The headline games.
It's a solid fourth.
But yes, it is a solid 4th game. And being on Fox, the big noon kickoff, it's going to get a lot of coverage, right? I mean, they've been hyping the game up for weeks because that's what Fox does. They're all into promotion. They're all into promotion for their games. So the thing is that West Virginia, their home crowd, things got to get nutty in this game. Things got to get weird. Kind of like Clemson Duke, like you said. Things just got to go Ari for Penn State. Go off the rails. West Virginia needs a couple turnovers. West Virginia needs the crowd to just be amped. They need Take Me Home to carry them home. I mean, they need everything to work out for West Virginia. You know what I'm saying? I mean, Penn State's the better team. They're favored by 8. They're not favored by more because West Virginia's crowd is that good. But West Virginia needs things to go their way. I know Joey and the other West Virginia fans, I know they're hyping up West Virginia. They do every year. And they were better last
West
year.
Virginia is going 10-2.
They think they're going 10-2.
That's what Joey thinks.
Okay, I mean that's steep. I gotta look at their full schedule. To be honest, I have not looked at it, but
I was watching the morning show today, and Mark agreed to sing "Country Roads" if West Virginia wins this game.
Hey, well, that's definitely possible. I'm not gonna lie, it is definitely possible. So I would love to see that. I'm kind of root for West Virginia now, but I mean I think it's gonna be a good game. But there's one of 2 ways this is going to happen. I think either West Virginia is going to find a way to squeak it out, or it's going to be close to the 4th, and then Penn State's going to blow it open, like win by 14-ish. That's the 2 scenarios I'm really seeing. Maybe Penn State holds on. I can see that, but to me, the 2 likeliest scenarios is that West Virginia either survives or Penn State pulls it away in the 4th. I don't know, man. I mean, I could go back and forth on this one. I mean, Penn State's better. That's the thing. They're the better team. It's not even a debate for me. Penn State is the better team. The only thing is, though, is they have a new OC, and they got Tom Allen. It's a new defensive coordinator. So 2 new coordinators and a tough road game, that could be tough. But what are you thinking?
Yeah, Andy Kotelnicki, he's got to unlock Drew Aller for Penn State to be successful.
Yes.
Maybe not in this game, but definitely if they want to do any damage against USC, and I believe they play Oregon too. I think they avoided the Big Two though. For West Virginia, returning, they're one of the top 5 in the Power 4 returning starters from last year, which is good. And the West Virginia went 9-4 last year, which is good for West Virginia. The problem for West Virginia is they got blown out in 3 of their losses against like Texas, Oklahoma, and someone else.
I'm trying to remember who they lost to. I can't remember that final one, but basically that showed you West Virginia was they were average, right? They were above average, but they weren't good enough to compete with the big teams like Missouri was last year.
Yeah, I believe
they only have that good.
I believe the Mountaineers only have 1 win against a team with a winning record, I believe.
See, that's not that good. That's not that good. I mean, hey, they took care of business.
In the regular season, they beat Carolina in their bowl game, but
Carolina didn't even have none of their good players, though, man. Yeah. I mean, they had no Drake May. They had like none of their quality players.
Yeah, only 1 win in the regular season against a team with a winning record, and that was 7-6 Texas Tech. So, like, it would be fun for WVU to win. I can't pull the trigger. I can't pull the upset trigger over this game, unfortunately. Even though it would be really fun to see West Virginia win.
Yeah. So, what's your score?
I'll go 31. I'll go 34-24.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, that's about the spread. So, I mean, my thing is like you said, I mean, that exposes West Virginia a little bit. I mean, like Scotty says right here, appreciate you for stopping by, Scotty. He says, West Virginia barely beat a horrible 3-9 Baylor team on the road in Waco. I mean, I love how everybody's just hating on Penn State. Like Jackson, I've got Penn State winning 28-20, unfortunately. Like, nobody likes Penn State. Like, we're all, even me. Like, I'm rooting for West Virginia. Like, I'm not a massively biased person. I'm not. But I can say, especially now that I know Mark has got some stakes in with this now. Like, I'm rooting for West Virginia. I want to see that song sang. I mean, I want to see it. So, but I don't know, man. I just feel like Penn State is too good. I mean, they do choke in a lot of big games, but is this like, does this qualify as like a big game? Like we're talking about, Rose Bowl material stuff. No. And West Virginia, I mean, again, solid team, above average team, but they're not great. And I mean, does anybody really? I mean, I love how we went from like Neil Brown's going to get fired and he's garbage to, oh, he's a great coach now. Like he's fantastic.
There's some truth in the middle.
Yes, he's not great. He's not garbage, but he's not great. And I understand James Franklin, you could say the same for him, but Penn State is more talent. I know talent isn't everything, but I do think Penn State's going to win 31-27. I think they're going to squeak it out. Even though I said that the 2 likeliest scenarios are going to be that they pull away and win by more or lose, I think that the less likely scenario is what I'm seeing. Is for me. I think that they're going to squeak it out. West Virginia, it's going to be weird. That atmosphere is going to be crazy. But the other thing, if it was a night game, the night game would make it different too. Like, right? The home atmosphere at night. Even Mark said he's not big into that, right? He's not big into the night making a big difference. But even he said that when it's at night, the crowd, there's something about it. Just a little bit more amped. I don't know. Penn State's going to pull it out. Be a big for their season too, because if they lose, I mean, a lot of people are going to, start thinking more negatively of them, that they're not going to really have as good of a year. And if West Virginia wins, that would put them in great shape for their season. But I think Penn State will win.
It will be interesting to see how good Iowa's offense looks, even against the FCS team, just to see any improvement in
Oh yeah,
Iowa's.
yeah. Iowa. I mean, can they put up like 30? Can they just score points? Because that's the thing. Like when they play these games against these little FCS schools, it's just about can you score points? Can you do that? Like no 7-3 against South Dakota State. Like
It was
put up
five to
points.
three. It finished 7-3 because of a safety. It was
Yeah.
5-3
I mean,
at
that's
one
just
point.
garbage. I mean, it really is. Just score points. Just make it look good. Right? Like that's what I'm wanting to see from Iowa.
Virginia Tech and Vandy.
Hey, I like this game. It's a sneaky little game. I mean, Clark Lee needs this. Like he needs this game because if Vandy is any shot of sniffing bowl eligibility, which nobody's saying that, they got to win this game. Now, the problem is every single player that Vanderbilt has that's been any good the last couple years, they've lost to the portal. Like they had that old lineman that went to Bama. They lost Mike Wright to Mississippi State, the quarterback. So it's like they don't keep
Ray
anybody.
Davis to Kentucky.
Yeah, that's Vandy's problem. They actually do sometimes get decent players, but then they leave for better programs. On the field anyway. I mean, not better academically, obviously, but still, it's just like they can't keep players. They leave. It's at home, but like with Stanford, Vandy's got no fans.
Listen, Virginia Tech has a very passionate fan base as someone that lives in Virginia. Though it will be packed with Hokie fans, I bet.
Yeah, they'll probably travel because, I mean, let's be real, Blacksburg to Nashville, it's not massively far. You go down 81, I-81 to the I-40. You can get there in a few hours. So, I mean, they'll probably travel, take up those empty
Like my
seats.
sister is a student at Tech. She isn't going, but she has a lot of friends that are going.
Yeah, well, my thing, Will, is that, like, I can't remember if I remember reading that like Vandy was going to renovate their stadium or whatever, but I don't know if they've done it yet. So like their stadium sucks. Like I've read that people said that it's horrible. Like it is like you think like Indiana's bad. Like Indiana's stadium like destroys Vanderbilt. Like Vanderbilt Stadium was like Ryan Field bad almost, like Northwestern. That's why they demolished the thing or getting rid of it. So I mean, I think Virginia Tech, the fact that they're probably going to have more fans than Vandy, Clark Lee's probably on his last leg. Sucks, too, because he had the win over, Florida and Kentucky. I was rooting for the guy, and he just can't keep players. It's not really his fault. I mean, you can't blame him, but I think Virginia Tech will probably win 34-16.
Yeah, I'll go 38-10 Hokies. Big year for Brent Pry to see if they can get over the hump.
Yeah, like Scotty B says, Virginia Tech returns the most production in the country. No way they lose to Vanderbilt. So, I mean, yeah, I didn't even know that stat, but I did know, like, Virginia Tech has people – I wouldn't say, like, they've been hyped. Like, not like crazy or anything, but, like, they have drones back, and I remember seeing some people predicting maybe they'll win 8 games maybe. So, yeah, I think, like, Virginia Tech, it looks pretty good for them. They should take care of business if they're as good as people think.
UConn, Maryland will be.
I mean,
take $2 tickets, man. $2 tickets.
Hey, I mean, I will say with Maryland, and you know this is true, that Maryland, their fans are horrible.
They're good for basketball. They have more fans at basketball games than they do for football.
I mean, they suck. Like I remember when Indiana played them once, and Indiana was like 5-2, and Maryland was like 3-3, and the stadium was like half empty. And I'm like, this is a decent game. It was back when Indiana had Peyton Ramsey. Like Maryland, I know Indiana's not a big draw, but like Maryland, their fans are horrible. Like unless Ohio State's coming to town, they got no fans. And the thing is that their fans would really help them, I believe, in a lot of games like this. I mean, if you have massive fan support, even for games like this, I mean, that just makes your football program look better. Like people respect teams like Virginia Tech where the fans show up, you know?
Maryland had better fans show up when they're in the ACC. They just dropped when they joined the Big Ten.
It's almost like the same thing with Nebraska. Now, Nebraska hasn't lost their fans, but it hurt the programs, right?
Mhm.
Like because Maryland culturally was ACC, Nebraska was Big 12. They go to the Big 10 and they just don't fit. It just doesn't
Mhm.
work as well. That's what a lot of people don't understand about this realignment. It's not a seamless thing.
Mhm.
But Maryland should win. I mean, I know that UConn is somewhat more relevant now than than they've been like 3-4 years ago, but they're still not good. So I think Maryland will win like 31-10.
Mhm. Yeah, I'll go 42-14. What do you think about UConn Big 12 rumors?
Yeah, I've seen that. I mean, if it wasn't like the rumors weren't going on right now,
Mhm.
maybe I still will if I have time. Like that'd be a good video, because like what's going on with that? Because on the one hand, it makes sense in a way because like the Big 12's the basketball conference right now, and UConn with them being like everybody's favorite, program to talk about when it comes to blue blood discussion because like, oh, they're a blue blood now, even over Indiana. They're way better than Indiana. And it's like, okay, I mean, I get it. I do. But like historically, they're not. I mean, like they haven't even been good until like the last 30 years. Their prior history is horrible. Like they have so many fewer wins than
Mhm.
Indiana and even Louisville. Like me and Austin have
Mhm.
talked about this before. Like UConn just does not have as many wins at all, like historically, because they were bad for a lot of their history. I know that again, last 25, 30 years have been elite, but UConn, that's a whole other discussion. But I do think that UConn going to the Big 12 would kind of make sense in basketball, but the problem is though, and I was about to say it, but Jason kind of beat me to it, is that UConn geographically doesn't make sense. But see, none of these moves have been made sense geographically. You know what I'm saying? Like none of them do. USC shouldn't be in the Big Ten, but they are. It don't make sense because I mean UConn fits better in the Big East in basketball. They do because they're culturally a fit. They don't fit in the Big 12. They're going to be playing Baylor. It don't work. But if it's going to be about money and eyeballs, then they'll do it. But I do agree with Jason that geographically it makes no sense. But hey, all these other teams made these moves when it didn't make sense either. Money's driving it. Go Tigers. We got Go Tigers in the chat.
What's
Appreciate
up,
you for
Edward?
stopping by, Edward. He said it's a basketball move, period. It would be. I mean, it strictly is. But I think it probably would be better for them to stay in the Big East. But if they did go to the Big 12, it wouldn't surprise me.
Mhm. Yeah, it'll be sad, but wouldn't
It would
surprise.
hurt the Big East tremendously.
Oh yeah.
Like I feel like the Big East has gained more relevance again because UConn came back because like Villanova was carrying it, but like no offense to Seton Hall and Marquette and stuff like Marquette, Creighton, they got fans and they're relevant, but they're not UConn. They don't have the
Mhm.
draw, the interest, the money. It's just it is what it is. So it's just not the same.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I love what Jason says here. The fans stopped caring when they moved to the AAC. They won't care about playing Big 12 schools, even the good ones. See, that's the thing. Because I don't know if you saw, Will, but they had a tweet. I think it was from Andy Katz or something. Or it was either Andy Katz, John Rothstein. It was somebody. But it was on Twitter, and they said that the top 10 fan bases in college basketball, and they had UConn at like 4, and they had Indiana and North Carolina at 8 and 7 respectively. I'm like, what? North Carolina and Indiana's fan base is way better than UConn's. Are you out of your mind? Like,
Well, you
really?
probably haven't met any UConn fans because they're up north.
I know that, but I mean, I never met an Indiana fan in person either. I don't live by. I know they exist because they're all over the internet. I mean, Indiana's got 1 million Twitter followers. North Carolina's 1 million. UConn doesn't. I know that
UConn
Twitter
has a
followers
lot.
aren't
They're
everything.
loud. I mean, they're a loud fan base, but
You know what I'm saying. I think North
yeah.
Carolina and Indiana have a better fan base than UConn in basketball, but hey, I mean, I don't know. Let me look that up real quick. I know it's so random and off topic, but I mean, seriously though, I don't think UConn basketball has many Twitter followers. They have 129,000 Twitter followers. Indiana and North Carolina have over 1 million. Okay, UConn is not a bigger fan base. They're just not. They're a smaller fan base and they might be loud, but Indiana and North Carolina have a better fan base. That's to me, I don't have anything else to say with that.
What do you have to say about South Dakota State and Oklahoma State? Will South Dakota State do what South Alabama did last season?
The thing is, it wouldn't shock me. Oklahoma State's weird.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you remember the UCF game last year?
Mm-hmm.
You remember the UCF game last year?
Mm-hmm.
They lost 55-3. I mean, I still can't believe that. I know it was after Bedlam, but are you serious right now? That was just insane.
The ultimate trap.
A trap game is when you barely lose, like you get caught off guard. They got annihilated by a vastly inferior football team. I don't know what happened. So it wouldn't shock me. It really would, because I remember I went with Oklahoma State, I think, even though like Kane Womack, is at South Alabama. Like I was like, man, I think South Alabama is really good. They're going to give them a game. But I went with Oklahoma State. I didn't think they were going to lose.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I mean, Scotty's saying Oklahoma State should win. I mean, they should. That's not a debate at all. They should win. But I'm not like super confident in it either. Like I think that they could lose based off what they've done in the past couple of years of blowing it. But I guess I'll pick Oklahoma State 28-17, but I don't trust it. You pick an upset.
I'll go 31-24 Jackrabbits. I'll pull it.
Oh my goodness. Oh my, there's your FCS upset, folks. Mm-hmm. I went with North Dakota State. You're going with South Dakota State. So we got our FCS upset. Well, we'll see who's right. Maybe we'll both be right.
That'd be
Maybe
fun.
I'll be right on Colorado and losing, and you'll be right on Oklahoma State. I'll be upset on Oklahoma State because I'll be like 2 years in a row they burned me. Then the next year I'm picking whoever they play FCS. Like, it don't matter. Oklahoma State, you got to take care of business. You got to take care of business. That would be an epic loss. Akron. Sorry, Akron. Ooh, here we go. Miami and Florida. This game right here, I love it. I just love it. Both teams, the storylines are just off the charts. Florida needs this game, right? Because we remember Utah. They beat Utah. And the thing is that Anthony Richardson, I will never forget Anthony Richardson's run. That the Heisman run. Literally, people were crowning him the Heisman winner after that one run. I mean, it just cracked me up. I'm like, really? I mean, it was impressive, but they beat Utah. It was a big win. The thing is they basically sucked the rest of the year. And then last year, didn't do good at all, right? And then they beat Tennessee on their own field. They had the big game against Tennessee. And I know that most people will agree with this, but Florida should have made a bowl game last year. They choked against Missouri. You remember that Missouri game.
And Arkansas.
Then they choked against Arkansas. Both games. I don't know what was worse. I mean, the fact that they had a top 10 Missouri team on the ropes, and they should have won. All they had to do was prevent a fourth down. And then against Arkansas, they were winning that game easily. And then the game goes to overtime. I think it went to double overtime. But I don't know. It's just really irritating with Florida because, like, they have the talent to be good. They have enough good players to beat teams that are competent, but then they just suck against so many other teams. But I don't trust Miami. I mean, like, the thing is Miami is not trustworthy. And the problem is that Mario Cristobal, the guy that I don't know if he can coach. I don't know. I mean, I legitimately I'm concerned with his play calling, his coaching ability, and his end of games. Absolutely horrible. So I don't trust Miami either. I mean, they're favored by 2.5, but that game is in the swamp. Tom Petty's going to be rocking it out between the third and the fourth quarters, like always. I don't know, man. There's just something about Florida in a big game. They tend to show out. But what are your thoughts?
This is like both of these coaches. I mean, I guess it's not Mario's last stand,
No.
but this is definitely Billy's last stand. And if Miami loses, man, I could see Miami going 4-8 if they lose this game. Like Miami just crumbles after bad losses.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And here's a good point that Edward makes here. The swamp is hot and loud, especially week 1.
I mean,
True.
Miami should be used to the weather.
That's true. That is true. Like Utah isn't used to that, whereas Miami should be used to it. But the thing is, I don't know. I mean, there's something about Florida. They're weird, man. They have these moments, these blips where they remind you that we're Florida, and then they just suck the rest of the year. So I would not be shocked if they won this game. But like you said, the issue is that Miami, you know, they don't have as much to lose here, or to gain. I mean, it's a big game for them too, to prove like, hey, we're good, blah blah blah. But like Florida needs this game. Like Billy Napier needs this game. Like I have a really hard time seeing if Billy Napier has any chance to survive for another season, even if he goes 5-7. Even Marcus said that if he goes 5-7, but they're very, very competitive in their losses, and most of their losses with that brutal schedule, he might retain his job. But the thing is that, to me, he has to win this game for there to be any chance of them going 5-7. Because if you've seen the schedule, you've seen it. Like, if they don't win this game, how are they going 5-7? They're not going 5-7. There's no way they can go 5-7. So everything comes down to this game for Billy Napier. He has to win this game. He can still get fired if he wins it, but if he doesn't win it, I don't see how there's any shot he doesn't. And Jackson said, Florida's 9-4 at home under Billy Napier. I'm going Florida 28-24. Sorry, Coop. Sorry, Miami. I'm going Florida. I'm not with Austin. I'm not saying Florida's going 8-4, but I'm going Florida.
I mean, Billy's really only impressive wins were the Utah win his first year. I guess at A&M that year. I mean, Anthony Richardson played really well in that game. And then I guess the one Tennessee win. I think Miami's going to out-talent Florida. I think Cam Ward will make some plays.
Hey, trust me, I think Cam Ward's a good quarterback. I do. But for whatever reason, I mean, Tyler Van Dyke started out all right at Miami, and then he just went down. I mean, it will be Cam Ward's first game, so you can't let the Miami, culture, like rot your ability after just one game. But I don't know, man. I feel like Florida's gonna get it done. And the problem is Cam Ward is turnover prone. Like Edward's saying, he is turnover prone. I will admit that being at Washington State made a big difference, though.
Yeah, he always had a bad O-line.
He had a bad O-line, so that really contributed to his turnover, proneness. I mean, I think that he'll probably do better at Miami. He should do better at Miami with that, but I don't know, man. I mean, Jackson's telling us Florida 9-4 at home. 1-8 on the road.
A&M win was their only road.
They're gonna get it done, man. I think Florida's gonna get it done. I'm not gonna pick them in hardly any game this year, but I think they're gonna win this one. If it wasn't Miami, I mean, if it was like, even if it was like, I'm trying to think of a good example. If it was like LSU week 1, like I'm going LSU, but it's Miami. I mean, I just don't trust Miami. I don't trust Florida either.
I don't trust either of these teams.
That's why I love this game. It's so funny. It's like it's a rivalry game, in-state game, and I don't trust either team. And Florida needs it more. I think they're going to get it done.
What should my final score be? I'll go 41-34.
Wow, very high scoring. You could be right, though. I mean, you definitely could be right. I mean, that both teams are capable of putting up points. But I'm just looking forward to this game. I mean, it's not as good of a game as the other big ones, obviously. I mean, even Penn State, West Virginia it's better. But I like this one. I really like this game. I mean, I'm going to be watching the game below it, Ford International, Indiana a lot too, because Indiana's going to win. We're going 38-10 for Indiana. Kurt Signetti's going to blow open Florida International, get an easy win. But I'm definitely going to be watching the Miami.
Davis still coach at Florida International?
Who?
Butch Davis? No, it's Mike McIntyre.
Okay, yeah. Did he get fired?
Butch Davis probably retired. He was old.
Okay. We got Jason trolling. He says, "Go FIU." Okay, I mean, I know Jason. I mean, I'm not gonna pick against Boston College every game. I'm not that anti Boston College. We'll see. Maybe they're better.
Cam Ward is Daniel Jones 2.0. I mean, that's good for college. I mean, Daniel Jones cooked that dude.
Thanks for stopping by, Mike, saying Cam Ward, Daniel Jones 2.0. That's funny. That's funny.
Mm-hmm.
That's a crazy comparison. I mean, hey, it's not the worst comparison I've ever seen. It definitely has validity to it. Absolutely. Daniel Jones fumbles a lot too.
Mm-hmm. So what do you think about IU this season? Wait, so is the UCLA week 2, or do they got another cupcake first?
Oh, they have Western Illinois in week 2. UCLA's week 3. Night game on NBC. I mean, to me, I think it's perfect for Indiana to have these 2 easy games before that game. I mean, you get to try to iron out the kinks, for the team, and get yourself to a point where it's like, we're a unit, we're playing better, we're starting to, move on from the Tom Allen way to the Kurt Signetti way, and then you get that UCLA game. So, I mean, I feel like Indiana's going to win this game easily. I do. I said 38-10. I think they'll win very comfortably. Indiana's favored by 22, which is a lot more than they've been favored in a cupcake game in the past. When Allen was there, I mean, I remember when they'd be playing garbage teams and they'd be favored by like 9 against like Ball State. Like, they're favored by a lot. So that's a good sign. I know Florida International is not as good as Ball State. It's been some years, but still. Very encouraging. I mean, the thing is, like, I was reading somewhere where, like, Indiana, I know that, forgot who said it earlier, but they said Virginia Tech had the most veteran roster or whatever. Indiana has one of the most veteran rosters. Scotty, he said that Virginia Tech returns the most production or whatever. Well, Indiana has one of the most veteran rosters too. And Indiana, I think, has 4 out of only 32 players. They have 4 of 32 7th-year players in college football. So there's only 32 7-year players in college football this season.
That's older than me.
7 years. I know, older than you. And Indiana's got 4 of them. 4 of the 32 players.
Notre Dame has 1, I think.
So that's crazy. I didn't even know that. So Indiana has more of them than any team. They have a very veteran team because of the transfer additions. So, okay, we got Mike saying, sorry, Jeffrey, IU going to get clobber knocked in this one. Indiana's going to win, man. I'm very confident in it. But I appreciate the input. I think Indiana's going to be fine. What do you think?
I'll go 45-14 IU.
Okay. I mean, that's even more bullish than me. I said 38-10. I mean, I just feel like this is a new era, and it's an easy enough opponent. And with Signetti's track record, I think they'll be just fine. I'm looking forward to it, though. I can't wait to see how improved they are on both sides of the ball. They got a lot of great transfers. I think they're going to be vastly improved.
It's a little sneaky little game.
Yeah, I was like, Boise. I mean, on the road. And Georgia Southern, if I recall, isn't that Clay Helton's team, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So that's a sneaky little game on ESPNU that nobody's going to watch. Like, no one's going to watch that game. But
it might end a little later.
Yeah, if it does, maybe some people will turn it over. I do. I always do. Like, if there's a game that like is still on and all the other games are blowouts or whatever, I'm going to flip it over to that game. Check the tail end of that one if it's close. We got Scotty here, though, saying Boise State didn't name Nelson as QB1. I think you said that as well, Will, if I recall. So that's interesting. I mean, I don't know how a guy like that could transfer to Boise. It's not a start, but, man, that's rough for him. I think Boise will win. I know they're not what they used to be.
People are bullish on Boise this year and to make it the playoff.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I mean, I wouldn't go that far. I mean, they might be a 9-3-ish team. We'll see. But I think that Boise will win probably 28-20. I don't think they'll blow Georgia Southern out. I think it'll be close. Because like I said, I'm old enough to remember when Boise was good. I mean, I remember when they were legit, like really good. And they're not nowhere near as good as they used to be. They're just not. I mean, they're not the same team in no stretch of the imagination, but they're still good. They haven't fallen off a cliff. So I think that Boise will win, but it's not going to be by a whole lot.
Yeah, I'll go 30. I'll go 34-17. I think they'll pull away.
Yeah, you could be right. I mean, I definitely could see them winning by more, but something just telling me it's going to be close. Then we got Old Dominion, South Carolina. We got Edward saying, watch Old Dominion win. Obviously, he's a Clemson fan, so he's hoping South Carolina loses. But, yeah, I think South Carolina should win that one. I mean, Old Dominion did beat Virginia Tech, if I recall.
A few years ago, yeah.
They did. I remember that. So you never know, but I think South Carolina will probably win.
Marshall should beat Stony Brook for Mike.
Yeah, he's definitely bringing up Marshall. I remember when Marshall played NC State last year, and I picked NC State. He's like, "No, Marshall gonna win." So funny. I was like, "Nah, I'm going NC State," and they pulled out.
Richmond could give Virginia some problems. They shouldn't, but Virginia's been struggling.
Yeah, Virginia they'll probably win, but it could be close because they're not good. Alabama's going to beat Western Kentucky. They're going to blow the doors off of them. Kalen DeBoer's first game is going to be easy.
Here we go.
Notre Dame, Texas A&M. I'm just, the floor's yours, Will. Just go right into this.
All right. So this is probably going to be a lower scoring affair. Both defenses are going to be really good, and both O-line should have some problems for sure against their D-line. Mike saying Notre Dame will choke. But you know what? I'm feeling good about this Notre Dame offense with Mike Dembrock. All the new portal receivers we got. I'm feeling good about Riley Leonard leading the boys. They said he can make all the throws. They're saying it's only going to be 81 at kickoff, so I don't know where that 95 is, but the Irish do have more 4-stars than A&M does too, so the talent advantage is there. They've been playing the loud noise at the practices this week to get the boys ready. So I'm feeling that the Irish will be able to get some heat on Connor Wegman, and the Irish All-Americans at secondary will be able to get some turnovers going. And I believe that the Notre Dame offense should do enough for them to win this game in College Station. So I'm going to go with an Irish 28-24 victory in College Station. Get the season going on the right track. It won't be easy because of A&M's talented D linemen, but I do believe the Irish will be able to pull it out.
I'm definitely not surprised he picked Notre Dame to win. Absolutely not. But the thing is, I don't really think that bias really matters here because Notre Dame is legitimately a good team. I mean, they have a lot of talent. They have upped the ante in a lot of areas. The problem is that it's at Texas A&M. I mean, the crowd is massive, and like you said, they have been, doing the sound to get it because you got to get prepared. I mean, some of these guys have never played in a stadium that big. I mean, it's a whole other ordeal. I mean, 105,000 fans. It is huge. So, like you said, if it's only 81 degrees, that will help. Because if it's like 95, that's not gonna be easy at all. That could be a problem. So, for Notre Dame's sake, it would be a lot better if it was cooler outside. We got Scotty B saying my hunch is the Irish win in College Station. I wanted to have it because I hate A&M. So the thing is that, and I have been on record saying this because I just dropped my SEC record predictions video earlier today, and in that video I said I would not be surprised if Texas A&M beats Notre Dame but then loses to Florida. It would not shock me. That's just Texas A&M's way. I mean, everybody remembers they beat Alabama, and then they turn around, and then they lost to Mississippi State. They do it all the time. It's not a shock. But my thing is Mike Elko knows Riley Leonard.
But he said that he doesn't know the new and improved Riley Leonard.
I understand that he doesn't know the new and improved Riley Leonard, but there's going to still be a lot of elements there, right? I mean, there's still going to be a lot of elements of the quarterback he knew. I think it's going to make a difference, right? I do think it's going to make a difference that, Notre Dame,
And Riley knows Elko's defense.
Yeah, I mean that's true. I think it's a big deal though. I mean, you're trying to convince me here. You're really trying to convince me to go Notre Dame. This is the 50-50 one for me. I swear to you, like all the other games, like the North Carolina one in Minnesota, I was back and forth on that one. And maybe a little bit of bias picking the heels. I don't know. But this is the game that I am 50-50 on right here. All the other ones I already know who I'm picking. I've gone back and forth on this one. Because
Jeffrey, I have to say it. Notre Dame got a punter from Australia that can boot it super deep, and there will be punts in this game, I believe. So that also will help the Irish.
There should be punts. I mean, I don't think it's going to be like perfect offense or anything.
No, it won't be.
Yeah. How good is Connor Wegman? I mean,
we don't really know.
See, that's the thing. People are hyping up Connor Wegman. If Connor Wegman is not, he doesn't even have to be Heisman good. He just has to be good. If he's good, then A&M can win this game. He just has to be good. He just can't suck out there. We got Jason saying A&M sucks, Notre Dame by 10. Everybody's saying basically Notre Dame. Jackson says if Texas A&M wins, they'll be overhyped as always every time they get a huge win. I hope it's different under Mike Elko for A&M, especially for Mike Elko's sake. Absolutely. Edward says Elko knows what defense Riley doesn't like or coverage he can read. So we got Edward detracting a little bit. I don't know. Yeah. I'm kind of going in circles here, man, because I don't know what to say. I mean, Texas A&M has talent. Like you said, Notre Dame is more, but the thing is the home field advantage. And I'm telling you, Will, I want to trust Notre Dame. But they have choked in games. I hate to say it. I'm like, Notre Dame, you had Ohio State last year. You broke my heart, Notre Dame.
You broke my heart. You made me cry.
I'm not even a Notre Dame fan, and you broke my heart. You broke my heart. You ripped my heart out, man. Like, I'm like, they got it. They're going to win. And then last play of the game. Like, what happened, man? So, I don't know. To me, until Notre Dame can prove that they can win a big game, I'm going Texas A&M. I don't want to do it, but I'm going Texas A&M 31-28. I think Texas A&M is going to win. I don't think A&M's great, but they tend to show up for big games. They just do. I don't know. I think Elko, I mean, he's better than Jimbo, like right now anyway.
Yeah.
And, maybe Jimbo at one time was all right. But he fell apart at the end. I think Elko is done really well right now. He's been at A&M before. He won at Duke. with a lot less talent. I mean, think about it. He almost beat Notre Dame last year when Duke didn't even have nowhere near as much talent. I know Notre Dame's better, but A&M's better. So I don't know, man. I think Notre Dame lost the O lineman too. I don't know. I'm going A&M. I hate it, man.
Edward,
I hope Notre Dame wins. I'll be hoping for you that they win, but I'm going Texas A&M.
Edward, watch Chris Mitchell, watch Jordan Faison, watch Jane Greathouse. I'm not saying they're great, but they're at least good.
Yeah, I will say that they're better than what Notre Dame's had. I mean, that's been a massive problem for Notre Dame. Is like they can't stretch the field. The thing is that Edward says Riley's a below average thrower with above average legs.
Well, he's above. I mean, all of Notre Dame media said he's now above average.
He has to be above average. I mean, if Notre Dame's going to be a national championship contending team, he has to be better throwing the ball, because the thing is, he cannot rely on his legs as much as he did at Duke, at Notre Dame, if he's going to stay healthy all year. You know, I mean, he's going to get beat up if he's having to use his legs all the time. So he has to be a better passer. There's just a lot of unknowns in this game. A&M, new coach. You know, how good is Wegman? Notre Dame. Is Leonard better legitimately at passing? Can Notre Dame, you know, go out there and win on the road in a massive game and not choke? Can Notre Dame, with their quarterback that A&M's coach knows, can they throw him off with the new look Leonard? There's a lot of question marks here. It's just, if A&M's home crowd was not as good as it was, I would probably go with Notre Dame. And if Notre Dame was more trustworthy in big games, I think Notre Dame's going to get there. But I just don't think it's going to be this game. And Moose saying I like A&M. I mean, like I said, I hope Notre Dame wins. Nothing against A&M and Elko, but I hope Notre Dame wins. Not just for you, but I do hope they win. I mean, I don't have anything against Notre Dame. I've always liked Notre Dame pretty well. I especially like Mike Bray and the basketball team. I always liked him, even though he got, you know, basically fired. But I got nothing against Notre Dame. I hope they win. I got to see it. Prove it to me, Notre Dame. You let me down last year. Prove it to me.
I don't know why I feel so hurt that you picked against Notre Dame, but
I know. I didn't want to do it. That's why I went so long, because I didn't want to do it. Right. I literally, this whole show, I'm like, am I going to do it? It will. He's going to be so upset. Wyoming, Arizona State. Look at that. That's a good game. I don't know. What are you thinking on that one right there? We also got Hummus Hero in the chat. Appreciate you for stopping by. We got a lot of you guys in chat coming in late. Really appreciate it. I know you guys are probably hyped for college football, because we are. Even for these games like Wyoming and Arizona State. I mean, it's at Arizona State. The problem is, and you said it before, you've said it tons of times, that Wyoming is way better at home. That's the problem. If this game was Arizona at Wyoming, I would pick them.
Bad. So Arizona State's also bad, so I could see Wyoming pulling it off, but I won't risk it. I'll go low scoring, they think. So I'll go 28-21 for Arizona State.
I'll go Arizona State 24, Wyoming 20. I think it will be close. I mean, like you know, you've said in the past, Wyoming's a different team at home. I mean, you remember the game against Texas Tech. That's just the way Wyoming is. They're a completely different beast up in Laramie. And even though Arizona State's awful, I mean, they're still on paper good enough probably to beat Wyoming. And plus, Wyoming, didn't their coach retire? Craig Bowl, he retired. So, yeah, I mean, maybe it'll be some growing pains there. It is year 2 of Kenny Dillingham. Maybe they're a little better. So I think Arizona State will get it done. If it was at Wyoming, though, I'd pick the Cowboys easily.
And our final game of – we have a Monday game, too.
Yeah, Labor Day.
Labor Day game. USC.
But the big game, though, is the Sunday night one right there.
Will Brian Kelly win a big game?
I mean, he's won a big game before. I mean, beating Alabama. He's done it before. It's not like he's
not
never
at home. Not away from home.
That's true. Absolutely true. The thing is that I remember when LSU played UCLA a couple years ago. DTR just destroyed them, and UCLA won. The thing is, though, this game's not at USC. It's in Allegiant Stadium. So it's technically neutral site. And the thing is that LSU is going to have fans at the game. They're going to travel. There will be more. Probably they should be more USC. Should, because of the distance. But there will be LSU fans at the game. LSU's favored by 4. That's kind of telling, though, right? Because LSU is basically playing a semi-road game, and they're still favored by 4. So the thing with USC and really LSU, they're very similar teams. Just like with North Carolina. Like, the defense has to be better. Absolutely has to be better. No ifs, ands, or buts. They have to be better on defense if these teams are going to be any good. Because last year, the offenses carried these teams. Caleb Williams in some games saved USC against Arizona. Against Cal. LSU, I mean, Jaden Daniels won the freaking Heisman, putting up crazy stats. People are like, oh, he shouldn't have won the Heisman. Do you know how many wins LSU would have had if he didn't put up the stats he did and they just had an average quarterback? They probably would have won 5 or 6 games. That's how bad.
That's what they have now in Garrett Nussmeier.
And see, that's what I'm worried about for both these teams. It's like LSU's got Garrett Nussmeier, who is worse than Jaden Daniels. I know he had a good bowl game, but he's not going to be as good. The defense has to be better for LSU. USC's got Miller Moss. I know Tim and a lot of other USC. They fired Alex Grinch, but the defense has to be better. Really, to me, is this game comes down to which team's defense plays better and whose quarterback plays better. Do you trust Miller Moss or do you trust Garrett Nussmeier more? Whose defense do you trust more? I don't really trust either at this point. Maybe Miller Moss a little bit more than Nussmeier, but I don't really trust either quarterback too much over the other, and I don't trust either team's defense. So what are your thoughts?
I want USC to win this game because of my Brian Kelly hatred, and also because it would help Notre Dame's schedule. But the one thing that gives me some pause for picking the Trojans is that LSU, I believe, brings back their entire offensive line last year, which was good. Very good. But But USC's defense did look good in the bowl game, though. That's the thing. So will USC?
That's true.
They did look better in the bowl game without Alex Grinch.
I mean, they looked a lot better. I mean, Louisville. I actually thought Louisville would win, even though a lot of people were like, I didn't like Louisville last year and think they were any good because their schedule and everything. But like Louisville, I thought they would actually do well against USC. But the thing is that USC went out there and beat them pretty handily with the opt-outs. Even Miller Moss did really well. And their defense actually looked better. I mean, that actually looked better. It wasn't great, but it did show some improvement.
My head tells me to pick USC, but my heart tells me to pick USC, but my head tells me to pick LSU in this one.
That's kind of the way I felt with Notre Dame A&M, man. My heart wants Notre Dame. My head's telling me A&M. That's just the way I'm feeling. Yeah, I'm feeling a similar vibe here. Not gonna lie, but I'm gonna let you pick the score first.
I'll go 34-31 LSU.
All right. I know you don't like BK. I know you don't like him. I get it. And the thing is, I know a lot of USC fans, and I always hope for them USC does good. But the thing is that, to your point, with LSU's O-line, that's going to help Nussmeier. And probably on paper, they got a better team still. Probably. I mean, there's more there. I know USC is recruiting all that stuff, but LSU is probably still a better team. Like I said, they're favored by 4, even though they're basically playing a semi-road game. USC can win. And it'll be massive for them if they do. Help them have a good year. Probably make the playoff most likely if they can take care of business in all the other games and maybe win another big one. But I mean, both teams need this game. Like, if either team's going to make the playoff, probably need a win here. I mean, if you don't win, I mean, it doesn't mean your season's wrecked, but your chances of making the playoff are very slim. So it's a big game. It's important for both teams, but I'm going LSU. I think LSU is going to win 31-24. I think USC, their offense is going to be worse. Same with LSU's, but I think that the defenses – whoever's defense does better is going to be key, and I think that LSU's defense might be a little bit better, and I feel like Nussmeier's protection will be better than Miller Moss. I don't know. I just think LSU's going to win. I'm not Mr. SEC bias, like SEC is going to win every time in a game like this, because I know I picked A&M. You know, like I'm not that way, because I know some people that literally just pick the SEC every single time in a big game because they don't always win. But I just think LSU is going to beat USC. I just USC's not trending in the right direction right now. They really aren't. And I know LSU got a lot of questions, but they're still – Brian Kelly's not getting as much flack as Lincoln Riley right now. And the program's in better shape overall. I think LSU will win. But if USC can get it done, it wouldn't surprise me. It'd be huge for them. But I'm going LSU.
In the last game, Jeffrey's Boston College Eagles are traveling to Doak Campbell to take on Florida State.
You got to go Tigers, say Jeffrey's Mr. SEC. You heard it here first. I'm not Mr. SEC. I'm just saying a lot of people think that I am because Alabama and then I pick SEC a lot. I don't pick it every time, but I love it, Edward. It's funny. It's funny. Yeah, and then you got Will here bringing up my Boston College flag from last year. They were not good. They were not good. They should not have made a bowl game. They were terrible. But they had an easy schedule, and they won 6 games, and they won the bowl game against a terrible team. So good for Boston College. But Jason says Jeffrey can't pick against the SEC. I think he's under contract. I love it. Now we're starting this. We're at week 1, and we're already starting it up. I love it. But Boston College is not a good team. Jeffrey 2023. I mean, it's so true. I said it probably 100 times. I did. Boston College is not a good team. The thing is that Castellanos, I will admit that he's solid.
Back?
He's back, right? He is back, right?
He is. I think he's back. I don't know.
I'm pretty sure that he's back. I saw people saying, I was watching like a college football show or whatever, and they were talking about Castellanos being a solid quarterback. Yeah, he is. He's American football quarterback with the Boston College Eagles. He's still there. So I think that, you know, again, I'm being positive to Boston College. I think Castellanos is solid. I think for what he has, he kind of gives you some vibes of early Jurkovec, even though I think when Jurkovec was before his injury, he was better. But Castellanos shows flashes. If you had a better team around him, maybe he'd do fine. But Bill O'Brien's the new coach. Hey, you know, I mean, a lot of people think he sucks, but hey, I mean, that's big. Jackson says, imagine if it was on the CW. And then we got Jason saying Jeffrey Feinbaum. Now, I love how that's the new nickname, Jeffrey Feinbaum. Like, I'm like nothing like Paul Feinbaum. I mean, I like Indiana, okay? Like,
no, Jeffrey, you got to give – I like Boston College's out of conference schedule. They got Florida State, Missouri, and Michigan State. That's better.
Yeah. Yeah, that's solid. But, I mean, can they win against, you know – I mean, Michigan State would be huge for them. I mean, they need that game, right? I mean, like Missouri, that's probably going to be impossible. But Michigan State, if they can win that game, I mean, they got winnable games. I mean, Virginia, Western Kentucky, Syracuse, maybe SMU, since SMU didn't look good. I mean, Boston College, we'll see. I don't know if they're going to be bowl game material. I don't know what their over-under was for this season. I'll try to pull that up real quick because I had like the over-unders for every team pulled up a while back because I was looking at it. ACC, 4.5 on one betting service and 5.5 on another. So Boston College, people are not high on Boston College. I like Castellanos. Maybe Bill O'Brien can get it turned around, but it's year 1. Problem is the game's on the road. Florida State is coming off a close loss to Georgia Tech, and I think Georgia Tech is better than Boston College. So, and
Mhm.
even Jason's saying it. FSU will beat BC at home. So I'm going to go with Florida State. Even though coming off a loss, I think that will motivate them. They're at home now, friendly confines. BC, probably not going to be great. They got a decent quarterback, new coach, but it's a lot of question marks. I think Florida State will win 31-20. I think BC covers. I'm being nice to BC. I think Boston College covers, but they're not going to win because they did cover before. Remember when they had Florida State on the brink
Mhm.
last year? They did cover. So I think Boston College will cover, but Florida State's going to win. Yeah, I don't think DJ will be drafted
Yeah.
either. Those were the words of Will in the chat, but I don't think he's going to get drafted either. His stock is tanked, man. I
Mhm.
mean, like, he's going to have to vastly improve by the end of the season to have a shot at getting drafted because, I
Mhm.
mean, he threw for 193 yards against Georgia Tech. It's not good enough. I mean, you got to do
I
better than
feel
that.
bad for DJ because it wasn't his fault that they lost the Georgia Tech game, but
It wasn't. I agree with you.
yeah.
Absolutely, it wasn't. But everybody's going to blame him because a lot of the time, quarterbacks get the blame. I mean, like, even if the defense is the reason you lost, like, how many times did I have to hear last year, oh, Drake May didn't do good enough? I was blown away at that. People would say that Drake May did not do good enough, even though Carolina's defense gave up 500 yards. Like, how is that Drake May's fault? And there were even people saying Drake May's not as good as he looks. Come on, man. I mean, literally, I mean, to me, you know, as a fan, even like if you're not like massively like you follow football that much, you have to come to realization sometimes that it's not the quarterback's fault. It's one person, it's one player. I mean, the defense is 11 players that are blowing it for you. It's not always the QB's fault. I don't think DJ was to blame at all, like you said, but I mean, people are just going to blame him. It is what it is.
Yeah, I'll go FSU. I'll go 28-24. I think it'll be close at the end because they're going to be. It's a long week for them getting back, so I think it'll be a close game.
I will say though that if Florida State loses this game, I mean, Mike Norvell, the hot seat talk it's not gonna just explode or anything. Like,
Mm-hmm.
but there's gonna be pressure. 0-2. I mean, Florida State can't lose. I mean, they just can't lose. It would tank Norvell. All the image that he has gained for the last couple years, it's just gonna tank in 2 games. He has to win this game. But Boston College, they're not awful. They're not good, but they're not awful. They're probably going to keep it competitive, but I do think Florida State will pull away at the end of the game.
All right. Well, everyone, that's our show for the week. Obviously, I'm most excited for Notre Dame A&M. Are you more excited for USC LSU or another game?
I have to say I'm probably looking forward to Notre Dame A&M
Yeah.
the most. I really am. I think that game with all the storylines and just it's not neutral site. I don't like neutral site like Clemson, Georgia, USC, LSU. I like road games, true road games. Notre Dame going at A&M, Penn State playing at West Virginia, UNC at Minnesota. I like games like that better. So I would have to say Notre Dame A&M. Obviously, I'm looking forward to UNC, Indiana, Alabama, but of all the big games, I'm looking forward to Notre Dame at A&M, and I think that most people will probably say it is the best game of the week, especially if it ends up being a thriller. It's probably the best game. I mean, Clemson, Georgia, yeah, those are like the big programs. Clemson's falling, but like no one's expecting it to be close. Maybe it will end up being the best game if Clemson surprises. But like Notre Dame A&M, I think with all the storylines, that's the game everybody's looking forward to the most, unless there's another game, maybe Penn State, West Virginia. But we got Jackson saying, tell your friends, your family, your frenemies, and the cashiers at Publix about the magic of Will and Dean Only Talk Sports. Appreciate that, Jackson. We got Hummus Hero saying, thanks, guys. Looking forward to the weekend wrap-up show. Hopefully I'll make it that one on time, laughing out loud, talking to Jackson. But I appreciate you being here as well, Hummus. I appreciate all you guys for stopping by. I can't believe college football is back, and it was very a lot of fun tonight doing the show. I really enjoyed it. Can't wait for next week to do it again. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Thanks, everyone.